All right, thanks for joining us. Another episode of the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast, where John Farquhar and Chris Harris bring you some stuff. And this week we are going to be talking about driver hiring, but we're specifically going to be honing in on hiring those drivers that don't have 3 years or more of experience. So, John, my friend, my buddy, my co-host, welcome. How are we going to hire these drivers, Johnny, that don't have, because John, you know yourself, my insurance company won't allow me to hire that driver unless he's got 3 years or more of experience.
Yep. Yeah, that's always the problem. And that's what scares everybody away, and they're all afraid to do it. But hey, there are some loopholes. There are ways to get around this.
Well, hold on. Now, when you say loopholes, that sounds like I'm doing something a little shady that the insurance company wouldn't like.
No, it's a good loophole. It's a good loophole. It's a positive loophole. It's like your shoelaces got a loophole in
it. Because what we're going to talk about, and for our audience, remember that John used to work for the Guarantee. Actually, let's go way back. John used to work for Zurich. When they did trucks. And then he worked for the Guarantee. And I worked for Old Republic. So the reason I bring that up, that's 3 different insurance companies, if I can put my fingers there. 3 different insurance companies. And of course, we have friends that work at other insurance companies.
Exactly.
And we all swap stories. And it's amazing that all of the insurance companies basically, generally, have the same parameters.
Yes, they do.
So with that out of the way, John, can I hire new drivers directly out of a TTSAO school? I'll throw
sure you can.
In.
Well, we're hoping they're all TTSAO schools because those are the good ones, right? Those are the ones that have got the bigger courses, and they're established schools. They're certified schools through TTSAO. They're part of the association. They hold each other's feet to the fire. So yes, you can hire a new driver right out of school, but that's the trick. The big butt in the room. How's that song go? I like big butts, but I cannot lie. So, but this is a different kind of butt. So the challenge here is you need to demonstrate to your insurance provider that you have not only the willingness and not only the availability, but that you have the resources and you have the processes in place to develop a finishing program, a mentoring program. You're going to hire this new to the industry individual, and you're going to provide him with the training, him or her, with the training that they require to do the task that you are.
Well, okay. So first of all, you said you've got to have the resources.
Yes.
Well, John, I've got experienced drivers and I got trucks.
Yep. Perfect. That's a start.
Oh, that's only a start? I thought that was the end.
No, sorry, that's just the start. That just got you started. So, So,
what other resources do I need?
Well,
I'm going to stick this new driver into a team, right?
Yep. Yeah. Okay. I guess we got to define the term team, because we don't want to take them as and that's what scares insurance companies as well, is when you say, we're putting them in with a team. No, we don't want to train them as a team. So let's kind of start from the beginning. So I got some resources. I've got a driver who's got lots of experience. So no different than when hiring a driver and you have an a hiring criteria standard in place that says, hey, when I'm looking to hire a driver, I'm looking for these particular items. Well, if you have an experienced driver that is willing to do some training, well, hang on, that driver should meet some certain criterias.
Hallelujah.
Like we want to make sure they have so many years of experience. Like I'm a big fan of 5 years, but you know what? I'll bring it down to 3. We want to have a clean driving abstract. We don't want any violations, no bad habits. We don't want any collisions or accidents in that same time period, right? So 3 years clean driving, 3 years accident free and whatnot. Because that's what's really key, because you're going to use this person's abilities to train and mentor a new individual. So last thing you want to do is have somebody that has a ton of speeding tickets teaching this person how to drive. That's not going to go over well. So,
and I would add to that list, because this is a little self-serving, but I would add to that list that the driver trainer should receive some training, such as NATME's Certified Driver Trainer Program, which, of course, that's the self-serving part. That's a course that I teach. And there's also OSL, Ontario Safety League here in Ontario, has another course that is available for driver trainers. And I'm sure every province and every state has something similar.
Well, our friends down in Caledonia have a course called Triple LC.
Yes, Triple LC, which is North American wide as well.
It is, and very much recognized.
And let's shout them out. That's Avatar Fleet out of Cleveland. They developed that program. And, you know, our friend in Caledonia, of course, is KRTS. I'm not afraid to shout them out.
No, not at all. No. And I think
LC,
they're the only ones in Canada that are approved to deliver that program.
Well, that program has been delivered by Canadians throughout North America, believe it or not.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay,
I, for one, had to go to the States along with some other KRTS resources, and we did some training. It was perfect. There was 100 and some odd people there being trained.
Oh, wow.
It was a big deal.
Wow.
It was fun, actually. But
and to add to that, you could actually have one or two of your drivers go to an instructor course so that they could learn how to teach other drivers in your organization how to be examiners, instructors, evaluators, and whatnot.
Well, that's exactly what all of these courses, the OSL, the NATME course, the Triple LC course, that's exactly what they do. They give the trainee or the experienced driver the tools to go back to your fleet and give away the information that's in their head.
Exactly. Because these courses are great. Because I know I get a lot of people that go, well, he's got all this experience. He could just train. Yes, but part of the problem is these courses help teach you how to communicate, how to convey that experience you have deep inside you to the new driver and do it in a productive, effective, efficient manner, you know, rather than just sit there and go, you didn't turn right properly. You know, we don't want that.
Let's talk about court for a little bit. You know, why would we want documentation that we've got a trainer with some knowledge?
Exactly, because that's going to stand up in court. That's what's really going to help us in the event something happens while we're training this individual. We're going to be able to say, no, hang on. This driver went for this instructional course. He's been doing this for several years. By the way, here's his credentials. Look, he's had clean driving record for this many years of experience. He took these courses. He's certified in this. He's trained this many drivers. And we've got all these guys that are with us and still with us that he's trained. This is huge credentials that are going to help stand up in court, providing we've documented everything.
Right. So that is what John means as resources. It's not just trucks and trailers and people. You need, and generally speaking, to have this type of stuff and not, did we finish talking about teams?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, let's finish that conversation before we do a quick summary of this section.
So let's define the terminology teams. Okay, so a team driver is what, Chris? What does it mean to you?
Well, if you and I were a team, while you're sleeping, I'm driving, and while I'm sleeping, you're driving.
Exactly. That's a team environment.
Yeah, the truck potentially is driving 20 hours, 22 hours out of 24. That, to me, is a team.
Correct.
And I think you tell me if you agree with this. If you are a brand new licensed driver and you're my team buddy, how am I supposed to sleep?
You're not going to sleep.
And get my rest while you're out there driving and you've got no experience. You've got my life in your hands.
That's right. Yep. So it's not going to happen. You're not going to do it very well. So.
And what are you teaching that new guy? Now, again, I'm not going to be in the bunk for 10 hours straight. I'm going to teach the guy maybe 2 hours because I do need my 7 to 8 hours sleep.
Exactly. What you're better off to do is what I call, and I think it's an industry term that's known, a super single.
Right. Yeah.
Where you've got two people in the vehicle. You're not going to be both putting in your 11, 13 hours driving each. What you're going to do is say, hey, maybe the truck in total might do 15 hours worth of travel time. But the full time period is both of you are sitting in the seat. Maybe the instructor's in the driver's seat driving and demonstrating and showing some things. And then maybe he's over in the jump seat while the trainee's in there learning, and you're conversing, you're talking, you're doing all this good stuff. And then when we park it for the evening, we both go to sleep. And a lot of trucks nowadays have got the double bunk system in the truck. Or, you know what? I get some companies that will take and do it, and they'll do it on a short run. You know, we're going to go to maybe Cleveland and back, or somewhere down to Columbus, Ohio and back. And then we'll go down and we go back. It might be too far for one guy to do, but two guys could do it, and we could still get back and then go home for the night, and we'll start again the next day. Yeah. So, but this is what's really key, because you can't put the trainee in a situation where there's no instructor there to instruct and advise what they need to be doing, what they may be doing wrong, how to do it correctly. That's what training's about. I don't know that I've ever been in a training situation where nobody's been there to tell me what to do.
Well, let me ask you another question that I get asked by trucking companies looking to do this.
Yep.
But I hired the driver from a TTSAO school. Didn't they get trained?
They got trained to 200 hours. That's what they got trained.
Many of them 103 and a half.
Yeah, exactly. So,
right.
So
which,
they're not.
By the way, is only 44 hours behind the wheel?
It's not very much. No, right. It's not very much. So it's scary. Yeah. You know.
So it's about 40 some odd hours behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Is that enough training for 80,000 pounds of rolling death?
No way. Not enough. Not even close. So, yeah. I get more hours in the bunk sleeping, for crying out loud, than some of these guys do get training going down the road. And then they're given a license and allowed to drive this equipment. But people need to understand that when they get their license, they are licensed to drive. It doesn't mean they know how to drive. It doesn't mean they know how to operate that piece of equipment. And keep in mind, what were they trained on? You know, it might have been a single axle Mack, for crying out loud, with a 40-foot trailer. You know, it might have been something that wasn't even close to what you're hauling. You've got this big double bunk Freightliner, you know, and a 53-foot trailer, and it's a reefer. They never hauled a reefer before. What do I do with that? How's that work?
Also, most of the schools don't have any mountains that they can take them on. They don't have, they can't legally do cross-border. So that's another experience that the driver hasn't had yet.
Well, and there's a good chance that they're probably doing most of the training on good weather days.
Yes.
You know, so we're not running out there in snowstorms and thunderstorms and heavy rain, night travel. I don't know too many schools that do training at night. Most of it's during the day. You know, instructors don't want to work at night. They want to work during the day.
And that's why I call the training that we're promoting today finishing training.
Finishing training.
Because
exactly.
The drivers,
and it's not because you're Finnish.
Right.
Or from Finland. Is that right? Yeah.
The driver comes out of a good driving school with good tools.
Right.
And now we're going to teach the driver how to use those tools.
Correct.
So we're going to help finish the program. That's all it is.
That's right. Yep. Got to take it to the next level.
And should we be documenting any of this?
Well, yes, we should. However, one of the things that we really need to focus on in order to properly document is we should have a training structure in place.
Oh.
We should have something that says what we're going to train on, so we can document what we've trained and then evaluate that process to say how well that driver's done. So if we don't have a structure, we're going to be in real trouble, because you can't just send a guy out with another guy and say, yeah, he taught him everything. Really? Are you sure? You know, it's like having the checklist. Did I go through everything? Did I catch everything? Did I forget anything?
Well, and I don't know. Does anybody have a checklist for this type of finishing program, John?
We do.
Oh.
Yep.
Thought I'd segue right into that.
There's not a lot out there, that's for sure. Now, with that said, we could kind of, give a little segue. I don't know, segue anyway. A little toot out to the colleges and trades, colleges and universities.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it now. Anyway, but it's a government body that was developing what was called the apprenticeship program that was built a number of years ago for the trucking industry, but it's not widely used.
And I think part of the problem why it's not widely used is there any longer a financial gain to it?
I think there was some tax benefits to it, but from what I understand, they weren't huge. And I think that's what deterred. Because, again, back to the resources, it's going to cost money. The motor carrier has to invest in the program because you're going to pay the driver trainer. You're going to pay the trainee. You've got to pay for the fuel in the truck. So hopefully you got some freight in the box. These are things that have to happen. But you can't look at it. There you go, Ontario Colleges of Trades. So you can't look at this as a cost factor. You've got to look at this as an investment into your drivers, which will be an investment into your organization, which will help you reduce incidents, crashes, violations, and retention. It will improve your retention. You'll be able to keep these drivers longer because they will appreciate the training that you're going to provide them.
Whoops.
And I always like the one, what's that old phrase that so there's some guys go, yeah, but what if I spend all this money and train him and then he goes somewhere else?
Yes.
And I always like to throw in the other aspect of, well, what if you don't train him and he stays? Now we're going to have a real problem. But, if we invest in these drivers and treat them properly, they're more likely to stay with you because they're going to appreciate what you did for them.
Well, you're investing in them. It's proven statistically that when we invest in our people, they do appreciate it and they become a little more loyal. I don't know how much more loyal, but they do become more loyal. But the other part where I thought you were going to go with that is what happens if you don't train him and he crashes?
Exactly. That's going to cost you a whole lot more money than if you had spent the money to train him. Yeah. Now we're into huge deductibles and costs for cleanup and crash materials and collision and downtime with the truck and trailer and everything like that. So, it doesn't take long.
There, I'll come over beside you, John.
Oh, hey, this is getting cuddly. I like this.
All right, so on the screen now, and for those of you who are listening to us, you're going to have to download it. We'll put the link, or you'll have to reach out to John.
Yeah, got to reach out to John. We can talk about this. So,
I just pulled this up. Look at John. You've written an instruction sheet.
Yes. So, because one of the neat things is, and you and I've seen this many, many times, Chris, where, we see evaluations being done, whether it be a road evaluation, and we've talked about these before with road evaluations, is a scoring mechanism. Yeah. You need a methodology behind your scoring. Checks and X's don't work anymore. We need to say what level of evaluation we're providing. So, because the sad part is, when you're evaluating and training and mentoring, finishing training with a new individual, you want to be able to show some of those strengths and weaknesses. And you can't do that with a check mark. If your check mark is satisfactory, well, what's satisfactory?
Yeah. And, just as an aside, I'm once again listening to a, what do you call it? A book that is older, but God, everybody should listen to it at least once or read it. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Sure.
So I've got the audiobook and I've listened to it probably 3 times. And one of the things that he talks about very specifically is when you praise somebody, be specific in the appraisal or the praise, as well as be specific in the areas that we need to improve. So one of the things that I like about your system here is I can say, hey, your right turns are really good. And so tomorrow when we start, we're going to work a little bit on your left turns.
Yep. Perfect. Exactly.
So because not every day does the new driver, not every day does every driver do everything correct.
Exactly.
So, but if you recognize the good stuff that the trainee did, and then say, hey, on this, we're going to work on this other stuff tomorrow. All right, let's get a
Yes.
good night's sleep.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
So much better.
Leave on a positive. Leave the day on a positive note by all means. So
well, most people recognize and appreciate the fact that they didn't do everything correct today.
Right.
Yep, and exactly. It's kind of funny that we're talking about this today. This morning, I just about had a car accident.
No, not in your Tesla.
Yeah, in my car, yep. And it wasn't my fault. There was a side street intersection, a car coming at me, and I'm trying to go through. A car was making a left-hand turn from a stop sign, saw the car on their left coming at them, waited for that car to go, and then proceeded. Right, and cut me off. And I mean, I honked my horn. We didn't crash. I could see that she, oh my God, where did you come from?
Right. And wasn't paying attention.
And I felt, honest to God, I felt like stopping to say, hey, I'm not upset. Hopefully you have a good day, because I know I've done the same stupidity. Yeah. So if we all make mistakes from time to time, that new trainee is going to make a mistake.
You have to expect it.
Yeah.
They're learning. This is how we're teaching them. But positive reinforcement will be very helpful in getting them to learn it faster and put into play good practices so that they can follow through on what they need to do and learn from their little mistakes that they have.
Well, and they need to know what they did right.
Yes, exactly. So not what they did wrong. They already know what they did wrong. They need to know what they did right is exactly right.
Often. But if I tell you, hey, John, you're doing this right. Oh, good.
Yep.
Now I feel good. Because if we only say, John, you did this wrong, and you did this wrong, and you did this wrong, well, then you end up leaving going, God, I did nothing right today.
Yeah.
Or the instructor recognizes nothing about what I did good.
Right.
So we all need to be rewarded and little pats on the back. Boy, that was a tirade. What a rant.
But it's true. So that's where the scoring mechanism it comes into play, because with the scoring mechanism, it can provide your strengths and weaknesses. So even as a driver, we could be praising you for doing a good job, but you're still not at the level where you need to be.
Right.
But if I say, wow, what an improvement from yesterday, we've still got a long way to go. But if I show you those little improvements, that's great. And if I share that information with you, you're going to go, oh, geez, I'm only a 2. Okay, well, I'm better because I was a 1 yesterday. Now I'm a 2 today. Okay, I'm going to work hard. I want to get to a 3 tomorrow and a 4 by next week. You know, so these are things that help. And sharing this information with the new driver is very helpful to educate them on what you're looking at.
So when you are saying 1, 2s, and 3s, what is your scoring mechanism? What's the top number?
So in my case here, the top number is a 5.
Yeah.
So
I just wanted our listeners to hear that.
One is exactly. 1 is the lowest. 1 means is inadequate. You're unable to complete the task and understand how to do the task. 2 is we're deficient. We're unable to complete the task or unable to complete or understand all the tasks without direction. And then 3 is, hey, it's acceptable. We're able to complete and understand all tasks with some direction. And then 4 is, hey, good. We can complete and understand all the tasks proficiently. We don't need assistance. That's where we want to achieve to get a high 3, 4. But a 5, here's the big trick. This is where everybody should strive for, and this is going to take years to achieve. The 5 is, you're very good, which means you can complete and understand all tasks with the proficiency to instruct others. This is where you become the trainer, So this is where years of experience with no violations and no collisions and whatnot, no bad habits, and you hone your skills. This is what's really key, guys, that if you're going to learn how to be a driver, you have to continuously train. So the finishing training gets you into the job to the point where you can operate a vehicle proficiently, and then continuous training to keep that up, build your skills, become an instructor one day.
So that's excellent. So a scoring mechanism of 1 through 5. So when you were talking about a 2 and everything, I just wanted our listeners to understand. What are we going to mark them on?
Well, we should have a document of sorts where we can track these scores. We want to provide, have some guidance by all means, that structure that we talked about, to be able to go, well, what are we looking at? What areas of training are we providing training on? So, and that's where this guidance document here, these guidance standards is a great start. These were all, borrowed, I guess we could say, from the colleges and trades, where they were developing that the apprenticeship program. So it was like, it's there, it's free. It's use it. Let's put it into play. Let's create some guidance documents. So this document here would be provided not only to the training driver, but to the trainer as well. So both parties would know, okay, what are we going to focus on? And maybe we don't, I'm pretty sure there's a lot here. We're not necessarily going to focus on everything every day. We might focus on certain things that we need to focus on today.
Right. And what I like about this, first of all, it's documentation.
Yes.
Which is so important. And again, if you need a copy of that, John would be happy to share his document. Look at that, John. John would be happy to share the document with you. And let me see if I can put myself back there. So reach out to John. I have a version of this document. Mine's a little bit different. Not as fancy, maybe, but mine's in Word. Yours is in Excel.
Yep.
Both. The main thing that we are trying to say to you is document. Now.
Yes, exactly.
The next question.
Yep.
How many hours, John? How many days, or how many weeks, how many months?
Yes.
Because, John, what you're proposing here is kind of expensive. You've got two guys in one truck, probably, as you called it, a super single, but because each driver needs 10 hours off, 8 of it is going to be at the same time, pretty much, because we got to get 8 consecutive hours off here in Canada. So, or even in the States, you can do the 8 plus 2. That gets really confusing in the States.
It does. Yep.
Yeah, but in the States, you're going to go 10, which means you can only work the truck 14 hours, but that could be potentially 13 and a half hours of driving.
Sure, exactly.
Really. In Canada, we could do 14, maybe 16 of work. So that's But again, I'm paying 2 guys, John. For what is just a little bit more than one man's work.
Well, it's an investment again. It's an investment into your operation. It's an investment into your culture.
Well, but how many days, or how many, I can do this for maybe 2 days I can afford.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, that's not going to cut it. The insurance company is definitely not going to like that. They're looking for, again, that investment into your program. So,
John,
I don't usually, as a rule, set a timeline.
Okay.
But what I do like to say is you need to focus on how that individual is developing along. Might take 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. It depends on the individual. So you have to be prepared to commit to get that driver. I have some companies that go minimum 3 months, no ifs, ands, or buts, minimum 3 months, which totally understandable, that you're making a true commitment.
The carriers that approach me and listen to my advice, I say minimum 6 weeks. It would be an exception. It would. An exception to get down to 4.
Yes,
that would be an absolute star. But 6 weeks would be my advice, and be prepared to go much longer if the individual shows promise. But just needs a little more finishing, a little more experience in certain areas. And I had one carrier that reached out to me, and when I finished talking to him, he said, well, that's going to cost me at least $10,000. And I said, yeah, probably. And his problem, John, quite honestly, is he was in the construction business and very seasonal. And I said, if I invest that kind of money into a man that's only going to work for me or be with me for a total of 9 months before I lay him off, because of the nature of their work, he realized he just couldn't afford the investment.
That's right. Well, that's when you got to dig. Yeah, that's when you got to dig deeper to find the guys that have got the experience that'll come work for you.
Yeah, but there are many companies that do work 12 months of the year that can afford this type of an investment. And I would encourage you to
Yes.
do so.
Yep.
Because John,
Yes.
how did
Yes. Now, one thing I would caution is don't get too many of these programs going at the same time. I know some insurance companies, I've heard some insurance companies say no more than 10%. Sometimes I think that's high.
Old Republic, that was one of the rules, no more than 10%. And you're right.
Right.
Yep. If you have 100 drivers, that means 10.
10.
Well,
10 drivers can use the program.
Now you got 10 drivers plus 10 trainers.
Yes, exactly. So that's the trick. You can't you don't want to be just using just a senior driver. You need to have that qualified trainer driver, who's gone through the process, who's meeting your standard criteria for being a trainer, So, and sometimes out of a fleet of 100 trucks, you might not find 10 guys that want to do training. You might only find 5. So if that's the case, then only do what you can handle.
Well, not just that. And I've heard some insurance companies say a minimum of 30 trucks before they'll even entertain it because in their belief, you just don't have the revenue structure to do this 6 weeks minimum of 2 men being paid for one man's job. Really is what it comes down to. So you do need the financial resources as well. And I'm not sure I'd put a line in the sand like 30 trucks or 50 trucks. But I would ask that, prove that you've got the financial resources to pay 2 men or 2 people for one person's work for a minimum of 6 weeks. How's that going to play out for you?
Right. Exactly. You really have to sit down and think this out, plan this out before you do it. Don't just willy-nilly go, well, I need drivers today. We can't find any. So why don't you go over to that school and see if we can hire 6 guys today? No. You really need to think this out. You need to make sure you've got the structure, the infrastructure, the resources to pull this off, the training of the drivers. So even if you decide today, okay, I want to start hiring new drivers out of school, well, hang on. How many drivers I got that want to train and are willing to go get trained to be a trainer? So I need to go that process first. And that could take you several months to get them through the courses, depending on when they're running.
Right. So it takes forethought, planning, resources. And when I was with Old Republic, we asked for the plan. So we wanted the plan in writing, not just, I'm going to do this. And for our listeners, I haven't been at Old Republic for 8 or 10 years now. So whatever rules I'm spouting today may have changed.
Right. But I think you're on the right wavelength with all insurance companies. They want to know what's your plan, regardless.
I'm sure what I'm saying here isn't. I don't know if an insurance company would say, no, I don't want a plan in writing. No, exactly. I don't need it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Again, and do yourself a favor. Reach out to your insurance company and say, hey, do you have some resources that can help me to develop this plan? Help me understand what I should have in place? Reach out, hire Chris and I, because keep in mind, just because we have a document doesn't mean that's all you need is a document and away you go. No, you still got to plan the process.
I was just going to do a selfless plug. Reach out to John or I, and we'd be happy to come out and assist you in developing your program so that, in all honesty, not to pat ourselves on the back, but let's be real here. If John or I helped you develop your program and sat with you and presented it to your insurance company alongside with you, I think they would have a great deal of faith that your program is going to work.
Right. Exactly.
And that's what you need is, not everybody needs help, but some people might.
Well, because the thing we're going to also do is not just help you get this going. We're also going to help you understand you need to put management structure in place. You need management support in place. So you can't just go, I'm going to have the safety person run this. Hang on. That safety person's got all those other duties that they were doing, for crying out loud. So now we need to go, hey, no, maybe we need a driver manager for the driver trainers and make sure that they have a resource to come back to, because they're going to have a ton of questions.
Well, and the dispatchers may go, well, there's 2 guys in this truck. Why aren't they running 20 some odd hours?
Exactly. Yeah.
You got
Sorry.
to set the expectations up.
Yep. Everybody needs to be involved.
Yep.
So because even your dispatchers can provide route planning to go, hey, we've got a couple of perfect lanes that would be great for this opportunity because we could get them down there and back, and then they could have their off time at home. Hey, this would be perfect, or maybe, wow, could we start the driver off in maybe with the local guy, do that for the first 2 weeks to get a good understanding of backing and pre-trip inspections and all this stuff just locally. And then we'll go, okay, let's go regional. Maybe we're going to run them to Montreal and back. Wow, what a great idea. Yeah. Because today with the congestion we got going on, one driver can no longer do a turn to Montreal and back. But a super single could easily do that. And that's a great learning opportunity, running up down to 401 into two big cities.
It would be. And as we approach our time here, John, I just want to throw one last thing in. We need more women. Now, since many of the trainers will be men, one suggestion I do have out there for the companies that want to do this, the Toronto-Montreal route would be fantastic for a mixed trainer and trainee. And I would further suggest an in-cab dash cam. So a driver-facing dash cam and it's to protect everybody.
Yes,
I'm making that suggestion. I mean, I believe in forward-facing dash cams at all times. In this situation, if I had a mixed team, in today's world, I'd be apprehensive in bringing a female driver with me unless I had some protection. And I think a driver-facing dash cam is an appropriate use of protecting me. And I'm sure leave a comment if you disagree. Or if you agree, because I'm sure that's controversial. I would feel better if I was a trainer with a female in my truck. I would feel much better with an in-cab dash cam.
It's not even a bad idea, even if it's a male trainee that you're with. You still need, again, back to documentation, evidence, video proof, everything to cover. God forbid somebody accused us, say you and I were driving down a road training and somebody accused us of doing something wrong, getting involved in a crash. That inward face camera is going to show due diligence by saying, no, look, these guys were doing everything they were supposed to be doing. They were attentive. They were paying attention. So it's going to exonerate us.
Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a forward-facing and a driver-facing dash cam for the situations where to justify, John, I'm sorry, you just aren't getting it. I'm going to have to let you go. And now John's all upset because he spent thousands of dollars at a reputable school because they're not inexpensive, and you're not hiring them. Wouldn't that be the perfect opportunity for John to say, yeah, but Chris, you put your hand on my knee. Okay. No, I want an in-cab dash. All right, Johnny. With that, I think we should wrap this one up. So that was mentorship. John's got a document that he is more than happy to share with you. Reach out to John. His email is in the show notes down below. His is in Excel. Mine's a little bit different. Mine's formatted differently, I'll say. Mine's in Word. But whichever one you would like, reach out to one of us and we would be happy to give you a hand with that.
Because I don't think it's going to be something we're just going to give to you. We want to have a conversation. How are you going to utilize it? How can we help you to better understand the use of it and whatnot? It is a very powerful document. So it needs to be used with some wise eyes. So while you're at it, though, make sure that when you're looking in the notes of the show notes, make sure you like and subscribe.
Leave us a comment.
Please. We love comments. We love to read them. Tell us how good we are or how bad we are, one of the two.
And with that, I will say that's it for this week on the Trucking, Risk, and Insurance Podcast with your host, John Farquhar, Summit Risk Solutions, and Chris Harris of Safety Dawg. We are out.